So I was told to come back to streams. You're gonna see here live stream YouTube live stream, hello YouTube. And then see it's I was told as long as you leave or hold it, guys. As long as you leave, I just hold me leave, that's all but the holdings. Take it, it is mine, I know. Hold this cane, say it's mine. I just don't need nothing, I didn't mind it all. I just don't need nothing, I didn't want to mind shoes. Fuck that. I also need anything. Fuck. Why is he having so much? Guys, come back. So I was told that the good thing to do in life is doing. That's the only choice that's gonna make success. Because I know they say that hearts, but just hold it, just hold it. When life feel fucking fear and anything, when feel good in life, just hold it. You're still hold, that's make a success, that's make number one. Oh, so much, just hold it, just jingle. First things first, you drink a lot of water, it's gonna improve your mobility. Saying you drink a lot of water. Or engineer drink a lot of water. Both you drink a lot of water. 5 you drink a lot of water. So that's gonna be important for us for the digestive system. That's gonna be true and you. That's something of difference you need to do here. The hard work, the good things, a lot of things are true. Always say that never be fucking sad, never leave it sad, like always enjoy, always lead a successful life. Fuck everyone's opinions. Don't care anyone's what's their talk, don't care anyone's fucking thinking. I don't scare it, brothers, don't fear, never believe in fucking fear of life. It's not yours, okay? Only to hold. I make this guy success, so it's gonna take a lot of time. I believe, accept. Don't care anything much. Okay. Today I don't study, it's like right now. This time I'm gonna study yours. I know maths good. Maths I don't know. Brothers, all serious brothers, the good thing you can do in your life, that's a result good. The good thing you do the good, bad thing you do the bad. So that's for now for shortcuts. If you think that's bad thing you do, that's for short term happiness you cannot do. But in the long term, even do the bad things for short time, that's gonna be hard so badly when you learn long term. So that's for us. It's very important to us. That's hold the good things and always do the good. That's it can do. Always remember the good thing you can do, the good thing result. So that's for us. Always I love it so much. That's I love it. That's good I can do. I do. Just do good thing I can do. I do. Don't care. I know that's true. I just not feel any confidence or I think it's the mirrors. But I hold this as long as I leave. It's gonna give me the confidence. It's gonna give me everything. Don't live a fucking fearful life. I don't care anything. I know that everything's mine. I do the hard work. I do the most hard work I love to do, the most things I do. That's no motherfucker. That's I will be success in everything. It's just not only one thing. Just not only reading, studying, or not only sports. I want to be always adding a lot of skill in my life. I know I will be success in everything, not only just the one thing. I will be success in everything. This is our universe mindset. This is something different mindset. Okay, that's we are success in everything. We are success in everything, not only one thing. This is something that's different mentality, different universal. Just live things as we are living 2026 and make this 2026 a most successful, most enjoyable day in this year. So make this today success, make this day the most enjoyable day, make this day the most successful thing and the most good thing I can do now right now, change to eat. That's only happening, brothers. That's only the good thing I can do right now. I do. That's the good things that happens in my mind. So it's gonna believe system. So I can achieve everything good. That's giving me success, and I never choose the negativity or anything, brothers. I choose always the positive. I choose the always success. I choose the success every single moment. I do everything for success. I always say I do the most positive thing I can do. That's I don't care anyone. I just love that so much. I know that's I'm 18 years. I don't care. So I believe that's all about doing success. Fuck everyone's opinions and do it. This is lifestyle. That's making success. I don't fucking care. Don't care anyone, brothers. I know this is gonna be hard for everyone, but I don't care anymore, brothers. This I do the most positive thing I can do in my life. That's true. That's I love so much. Okay. In the circuit system of the charm of the archetype that refers to the recurrent of the parents of the action, character types or image which can also be identified in the minds and the rituals and in the wide picture and the variety of the rituals such of the archetype are able to reflect universal recurrent of the pattern of the ritual and the social behavior which is invoked a profound emotional response from the reader's seminal source in the type of the criticism is more the Bodkins and the archetype because of the patterns in the poetry, others prominence in the patronymics of the more of the G. Olson, Knights, the Richard Sketchers and the Robert Graphs. These critics see through the trend, through the highlighted, the recurrent, the mathematicals of the patterns in literature as they consider that the mice are naturally closer to the elemental experience of man than into an artistic and artificial creations of the writers and their days revert theme is considered to the archetypes to found in prominent rituals like the burials of the corn god as well as the Christians believe of the circles the sacrificial of the restorations of marriage also traces in diverse literary writings like the Dante's Dives Comedy and the Coleridge Diamond the Ancient Mariners amongst other the archetypal image of the character traces in the literary works as an search for the father and the woman as the mother earth and goddess as for the women in the 1920s sanitary as the far-reaching questions the literary studies of the raised up by the T.S. Eliot, Richard Wilson, and the A. Levis said the direction taken by the criticism until the 1960s and the board term of the censuses of the established by the them in the 30s. Distinguished literature from the autobiography Eliot and Wimser, the literary criticism from the philosophy and sociology Levis and the verbal core of the text from the mental contrast of the readers such as plot and character Wimser and the Knights, the work of the Eliot and Wimser and the Emerson resulted in a movement known as a new criticism. The term was made the current by the publication by the John and Crow of the Ransom book of the new criticism in 1941. The focus of the movement was on the working out of the general theory of criticism and important prose key to the poetic meaning was a Wimset's the verbal icon the 1954 would expound on the principles of the new critical view of the poem as essentially a verbal complex of tension, ironics and paradoxes, the ambiguous which cannot be explained in terms of that the poet set down of the intentions of saying the poem was the poem, the words on the page have the dimension apart from the authors of the personality, the ignores of the authors and interdependence of the dimension which lead to the intentional policy himself and himself the Bradstone also cautions readers again the ability poem by its emotional effect which would lead to effective policy and so prevent an objective the assessment of the work according to the Ransom and the first law of the criticism is that it shall be recognized as the anatomy of the work and itself the existing of its own sake the business of the criticism of therefore in not with the social context of who got there, with the external circumstances or effects of a work, but with the detailed considerations of the text as the Bible actually the critical methods of advocate by the new critics is closing reading, the details and the stable analysis of the ambiguities of the verbal components of the text, the focus of the type of the criticism. Criticism is verbal, is views of the language and the literature as the distinct from the others from the language of the psychological of the discourse, the explications of the text are preceded by the analysis of the symbols and figure of the speech and the interactions of the verbal elements. The new criticism sets out of the illuminated of the organic unity of the overall structure and the verbal meaning of the text, the word, tension, irony, and paradox. Occur often a new criticism, the degree of which is the work of the art, is reconciliations of the diverse impulses or the equilibrium or opposite process is a measure of its literary value. The emphasis of the new criticism on a literary work in isolation from the social, historical, and the emotional context links it with the formalism, the mode of the hour resides supreme in the American universities for the nearly 3 decades from the 1930s. In addition to the eventual founding fathers of the critical approaches, other prominent parts, the visionary of the Alan Tate of the R.P. Blackmore and the Clarence Brogue of the Robert Fenn Oren, another 20 critical method of the Gates media other ranks in the 40s and 50s was the phenomenological criticism to the University of the Geneva, all of whom have the connected by shared values and ideas in literary criticism. Marcels of the Raymonds and Albert Bergians of the Geneva schools are later joined by the chair of the Rousseau, Jane Farrer Richards, and the George Pauls. The noted critics Z. Hyler, Z. Miller started out of the phenomenologists before turning to the deconstruction phenomenologicals of the criticism can be traced to the philosophy of the German thinkers Edmund Husserl of 1959-1938. The Husserl proposed the events of consequences, that is a concepts of lead to walls the 11 walls of the individual's experience and independently of the fear of the suppositions or withers and suffer with the suppositions from the philosophy or consciousness or is the unfine of the identity also act not the sense of the being the world but in the since that is the intent of the directed towards an object, the thinking subjects and the object is the intent of both implicated in the validity of the arts of the consequences and Husserl theories extended by the Martins and the Heidegger in the Germany and the Maurice of the Merleau-Ponty in Spain. Later the Polish theories of the Roman Ingarden adapted the phenomenologicals of the perspective to a theory of the way we understand literature, and according to the Ingarden literary work the originated in the intentional acts of the consequences of the author, the intentional in that which is directed towards on objects. These acts are resonant text which is able to the reader to re-experience his work in his work or her own consequences. The reader is therefore co-creative this with the consequence of the process of the recorded by the author. Since the Geneva of the critics is considered a literary work as embodying the authors of the unique, the mode of the consequences, they define the critics' last tasks of the primary to the define the soul of the author. In other words, the cogito of the discernibility of the structure of the consequences of the authors who are related to the of the not identical so with the psychology and the personality of the author. Consequently, the reader's aim should be to achieve a certain participation with the concept process of the author as George Paul asserted in the Phenomenology of the Reading 1969. When I read as I thought and I am thinking the thoughts of author, but I think it's as my very own. It's the emphasis on achieving a level of identity with the authors of consequences kept the Geneva school. The level of the theories of the consequences, their subjective and the approaches result that the express the critics of the 19th century, which is the maintains that's a literature work in the expression of the author's personality to understand which is the range of the readings by the reason of this subjectivity. The phenomenology is the base of the formalism. The new criticism is also the secularism, the structuralism of the deconstruction, but some of the ethos ideas is survived in the reader responsive criticism. The critical consequences of the 1930s is dramatically the broken of the new theories of the determine the direction of the criticism from the 16th onward. The most influential of these of the new theories was structuralism and movements of the thought and thoughts, which is the beginning in French 1950 and the work of the Roland Barthes and the anthropologist called and the Claude Lévi-Strauss in the Treasuries from his all the inclusive and concerning the language not only of speech or writing but of the sign and the significance of significations, that is to say all course of the communication including in the animal world. Structuralism as rooted as the thinking of the wise of the linguistic of the Ferdinand de Saussure and 1857-1930, a sign of the system of structure whose individual components can be understood only the relations to each other and to the system as a whole rather than the external reality. Thus, the conventional and the rational nature of the linguistics which is a constituted language determine meaning. For example, the sense of the word such as a bird maintained by convention, since there is no inherent connection and between the words or the subjects or objects in signifies, but the sense can also be the described and the rationals for the word of depends for a meaning upon its positions in the series of the related term, although share and mention and phrase and all of the which is the mood be entered in meaning ever so silently if any of the others are removed from the scorings because of the differencing networks like with the characteristics of the language. Meaning is never the sequel, it speaks of the external reality. It is a conventional, rational and self-referential. According to the structuralist of the Kiris, no individual work on the significance in isolation. This can be understood only in terms of the relationship between itself and the structure of the expectations of the period and the general itself, which is exists to the reader's mind. Understanding of the structure is therefore more important than interpreting the individual work. The mental constructs such as the literature and the poetry are conventions that do not give an accurate representation of the things outside, but that tell us about is our own minds how is prescribed the structural reality. What interests the structuralist and the perceiving the rather than the perceived space is the novel rather than the specimens of the E.G. David Copperfield. The structuralism is the opposition of any form of the view of the literature. It's a more of the communication between the authors and the reader, since the literary work does not have any the reference or any reality existing outside the literary system. It is a text or a mode of the writing of the consisting of the relevance of the conviction of any course and course. The structuralism accords so no importance to the individual author as a creator or origin, so the work instead of the mind of the author is a space within the which is already existing system of the literary language convention, and the core is the participated into a particular text. Roland Barthes in his work The Death of the Author proclaimed that dramatically as the institutions the author is dead to complete the supervisions of the humanistic view of the literature. Structuralism as replaces the authors by the reader of the central agency. The criticism where again the traditional concept of the reader as the conscious feeling the individual is replaced by the impersonal activity of the reading, which is a bringing into the play the requires of convention and the course make the sense of the literary text. Brothers, in your life you have two choices: accept the failure and accept the success, and accept the hard work. That's only two choices: accept the failure and accept the hard work. And two, allow the hard work. And two, because this is gonna feel good and better. Always feel better and feel the dopamine. Always my cortisol is low and always increase my dopamine. So I love it so much. I can do everything. I know I am hardworking. I know that's all but the good thing I can do. So that's gonna feel good. All about the feel goods, and I choose the good thing. Okay. Drink a lot of water. Okay. All things talks is drink a lot of water. So guys, that's true. It's not say that. So feel good. Even a true and try, it's just more 30 minutes or 1 hour. If you try it just for 5 minutes, feel good. So that's I'm a mental. I feel that I'm a mental doctor. That's good. That's gonna help you the mental health, all this good. Fuck everyone. So I believe on this routine. That's and I feel that when it's reading like that, you feel the cools, you feel better, you feel the lower cortisol, lower stress, hormone, and always be cool dopamines. I love it. That's and I feel the good thing I can do in my life. Just do it, brothers. I know I'm success in everywhere. Not only one thing, I'm doing success in everywhere. So 5 all the fuck that's 25 followers. Yeah, that's 15 followers. 15. As Amy Abrams explains, the nature of the theory is conveyed and conceived in a new way of not to the traditional sense of the set of the principles and categories for the classifying that evaluating a literary work, but in the sense of the design or accounts of the general conditions and determines all the meanings and the interpretations. In the most cases, this account is able to apply not only a verbal language but also and a psychosexual and the social cultural of the significant system. Literary criticism is therefore the inseparable from the consideration of the general nature of the human consequences and subjectivity, and also from the reference to all of the form of the social and cultural phenomena and force structural of the theories and the adversarial to the traditional and establishes the modes of thinking and set out of a challenge or the undermine and what they regard as the foundational of the assumptions of the concept or procedures of the Western cultural institutions of post-structuralism and the decentrist. The subject's traditional view of the others as human subjects is a coherent identity and whose intention to effect the design and content and of the new work of the literary art of the structuralism and the already diversities the human subjects of any functional role in the art of the creation aspect of the locations or space of the differential elements of the language structure are to be the participated as a text but to by the deleting the structural linguistics center of the writer also rears the possibility of a controlling center and hereby the made by the text of the uncontrolled and controlled play of the decentrate the signifier the decisions of the authors of the leaves the readers as the focal point of the post-structural of the criticism but the readers to the steep of the human attributes and what it becomes is the personal process of reading the text is the turn of the becomes the mere structure of the signifiers the given for the reading and processor and so to grades are loose of the distinction of between the literary and philosophical and the other classes of the writing are considered artificial. Deconstruction emphasizes the concept of the indeterminate way of the signifiers in a text. The signifying possibilities of the text are thus endless, and increasing the aspect of the post-structuralism is the currency of the term of discourse. The focus of the conversion of exchange among the literary characters as more of the critical evolution is the characteristics of a critical practice called a discourse analysis that developed in the 17th in the march of the post-structural criticism. Discourse of supplements or even the displays the term of the text is to denote the verbal material, and that is the subject of the criticism. The term of the encompasses all the verbal structure, and they consider the demarcations of the between the literary and the non-literary modes of significations and artificial Marxist critics use of the term of the discourse to new the stories of whom the Michael Foucault as a formerly representative consider discourse to be the totally anonymous and to exist as a simply something that is said as a consisting of a thread of the discourses and formations caused by the configuration of the power at a given time and place. The deconstruction as a mode of the critical inquiry focuses of the rhetoric and the self-referential aspect of language. The movement was begun by the Jacob of the Derrida is a statics as a quasi scientific crimes structuralism at the formulated of the two publication structures and the play in the discourse and the English sciences 1966 of the grammatology and the 1967 deconstruction led to a new kind of reading practice which is a key of the application of the post-structuralism according to the Derrida and axial of the propositions as there is nothing outside as the text of the attempting to explain interpret or text, and one cannot get the buy on the verbal sign of the constitution the text of the anything that stands outside inside of the intention of the speaker or writer, and the moreover a text can be read as a carrying a parallel of significance or was Derrida outlines is the theory of the undecidable play of the linguistic of the meanings in terms of the derived from the Saussure view that's in the linguistic side of system both signifies that material elements of the language and the speech of the speech sound and written marks or express concepts and not to their own inherent or positive identity, and the Derrida goes further to the state of that's a feature of that should they establish the signified meaning of the utterance or words are never really present to us in their positive identity, and since their significance is determined by the differences from other significations, nor can this identify the feature we say to be the absent. Derrida uses of the term of the traces define the phenomenon whereby the something that is absent inside or i.e. signifier suggested by the virtue of the absence of is signified or the nostalgia of all the safe presence, the assuming the meaning of any utterance spoken or written is the result of the phrase to others was scanned by the director provide the important keys of the understanding is spectacular of the procedures. Once is difference and the others is the disseminations the portmanteaus of the words of difference is spelled and spelled so with the AA indicates the fusion of the two sense of the French verb and differ, and the different or to be different to and to differ. The term of the constant, the consequence, the continuous and illness post-pronouncements of the differential meaning on the one hand of the text is conveys the effect of the signifying sense. On the other side, the effect of the illusory because it never rests of the actual presence. The preparation of the signification is subject to an endless flow of the linguistic interpretations of the disappraisal of the meaning of the among the innumerable linguistic alternatives and negatives of the specific meanings. Meanings is disseminated so among the innumerable internal of the linguistic forces. There did not purpose of the reconstruction as an approaches only or to the literary text, but as a way of the reading all types of the text. But these methods repeated. but his methods divided the attention of the literary critics, especially in America, who adapted his theory to a type of the close of the reading of the text, which has earlier been the path-breaking methods of the critical analysis on the part of the new critics. But the deconstructionist of the assert that the close reading of the new criticism is not close enough. The whereas a new criticism explores the internal relation of the paradoxical and the contradictory meaning of the text of the divine is essential. Organic investigates the identified of the range of the counter forces within the text to show that any correct reading of the text of the practically impossible in the Barbara Johnson of classic definition of the reconstructions. Reconstruction is not the synonymous of the deconstruction, however, it is a fact much closer to the original meaning of the words analysis itself, which is etymologically the meanings of the virtual and the virtual of the synonyms for the wide construction. The reconstruction for a text of the does not proceeded by random doubt of the arbitrary of the supervisions or subversions, but by the careful of the teasing out of the varying forces of significations within the text. Instead, the deconstructive, the reading with the analysis of the specify of the text of the critical difference from instead the critical difference in identity one the deconstruction. Reconstruction is not the synonymous of the deconstruction, however, it is a fact much closer to the original meaning of the words of analysis, which is etymologically the meanings of the untrue and the virtual of the synonyms of the word construct. The construction of the text does not preceded by the random doubt or the arbitrary of the supervision, but by the careful testing out of the varying forces of the significations within the text himself. A deconstructive reading, a reading within the analysis, the specificity of the text of the criticals of differences from each of the criticals of the differences. 1981, the deconstructions was influenced the thoughts of the provoking the practices of the critics like the Jonathan Schuller and Geoffrey Hartman, the Harold Blooms and the Barbara Johnson, readers of the response of the criticism originated the Germany in the 1960s and area. As regarded the literature throughout the interaction between the words on a page and the readers, the literature works are like the bulletin created and erected by the readers and using a plans of supplied by the authors. These plans are sketch and outlines and the not blueprints. The readers own the resource of the supply the material of for feeding it out. Wolfer and Wolfgang on history in this work. The Impel render either the patterns of the communications in the prose of fictions from the Van Owen and the Beckets of the Baltimore and 1974 that describe the process of the involved in reading the consultations of the thereby the reader feels out of the authorial sketches the four source come shortening in the memory of the passage of already lead to the building of the virtual of the dimension of the text that's a process. That's that part of the which is comes into the existence with the reading, but these are not actually on the printed page. The interaction among the anticipated events, the present events of the and the remembered events, the phenomena of the advance of the retrospection, which is occurs with the second reading when we know in advance that happens and the Precious events in their lives, the grouping of the together of incidents in the mind, which is the result of in a configurative of meanings, a thematic of the resolutions, and finally the alien of association, which we subsequently precise and which lead to us and modify and develop our previously constructed meanings. Reader response their theory presents the reading as a reactive creative enterprise. Marx's criticism consider the literature of the any given periods as product of the socio-economic sectors and specific to the time. The Marxists therefore they examine the literary work in the context of the socio-economic the melodies of the tune of praise. Marx and Engels has claimed that the history of the mankind is determined by the changing mood of its material production that changes in the world economic organizations, effect changes in the social class structure, giving rise in each of the fewer dominates on the subordinate classes that constantly struggle for the economic, political, and social advantage, and that's of human consciousness is constituted by an ideology that belief, the values and the ways of the thinkings by which is a human beings perceives that they are understands to be the reality, and that's of the ideology itself is what the propagated and the legitimated by the dominant social class. And Marx considered the ideology to the product of the social economics of system. Engels represented it is a force of the consciousness and it's embodied the interests of the bourgeois, of the owners of the material means of the production and the distributions of wealth. The popular Marxism is a critical parlance refers to that approaches that measures what is the level as the bourgeois of the literature by the correlatives in each to the present state of the class of the struggle and the demanding that such work by replaced by the social realism in the practice such of demands means that literature has to conform to the official party and however the more broad-minded flexible Marxist critics thus grant that the traditional works of the literature often translated the bourgeois ideology to reflect the objective reality of their times. For example, the influential Marxist thinkers George Lucas, the powerful says that a great work of literature creates its own works as distinct from the works of everyday literature. Lucas finds a Balzac, the Balzac and the Tolstoy topical example, both these writers were able to record with accuracy with the objective conditions of life and create topical characters who represent the essential the determinants of the time. Thus they show unity of the sense of the connection between the inner life of the man and the social and economic factor and the determines their circumstances or the particular times in history. The local cause of the common days and condemned modernist, experimentalist and writing on the ground. So this and exclusively the concern with the alignments of the individual in a fragmented capitalist world by the German Marxist Theodor Adorno and the Max Horkheimer and the Horkheimer are found in such of the writing and implicit critiques the negative aspect of the capitalist society. The Bartels of the base of the Walter and all the Benjamin also Marxist supported not the realistic moralist writing and Brace rejected the Aristotelian theory of the art of the imitations of the reality as said out of the proof that stuttering the illusion of the reality by the creating the characters who do not attract the real sympathy and by using a variety of the exchanging of the devices that adherents could be the soft out of the complacement acceptance of the capitalist society into a critical understanding of its shortcomings. Benjamin saw the evidence, the advance of the technology of the developments of the mass media, a tendency of projects of the mastery of the unique work of the artist. A few contemplations of the instead of the enterprises and active roles of the arts as an instrument of the revolutionary politics. The later the Marxist critics, Louis Arthurus of the Raymonds, who adapted the Marxism of the individual views of the nature of the ideologies. And there the function society in the 1916 Arthurus of adapted the structuralism, thence a voyage of the formulative view of the society as a whole as constituted by the reverse ideological and state apertures and including the religious, legal, and the political and the literary institution each of the irritated and two others in complex with and Althusser of the provides the importance of the reconsideration of the nature of our ideology to show the ideologies are very according to it. Because all these guys complete service completes, okay? Are more thirty which completes fucking. Drink a lot of water. Oh, fuck, that's I need to fuck it, one. What is eating, bro? No. What you reading? I'm reading the English literature. Yo, come on. That's 47-minute complex and vegetarian is more. I can play fruits. Yeah. play right now. Watch us play, okay? Play something to friends, okay? Watch. Brothers, hold the good thing in your life, just hold it. This is all the way to live a positive life. So all is the lower cortisol, lower stress hormones, all the mentions. Oh, I love it so much. It's a fantastic, brothers. Only chew that, only then chew this. I mean, play flutes or any kind of music instruments you can play. And see your say summers is all low and it feel good. And it feel good and it chew good. All about say real good, all about the good thing. You raise this good so nicely. Everything is zero. I love it so much. I build the legacy, I build the positive vibe. I want to build a positive vibe. So I don't care anyone abuse these guys. I don't know if perfection. I'm going to perfection. Just I believe in my oceans and gods, and I'll build a positive vibe. I wanna be built with positive vibe. I love it so much. Okay, I love it so much at this time right now. Listening to you, friends. You want so much to play, okay? I'm much cows. Like a tune